and welcome to Stakelbeck on Terror. Are you ready for another Middle East war where America has no vital strategic interests, chaos will reign in the aftermath, and radical Islamists will grow stronger? Then get ready for Operation Syria Boondoggle. President Obama is making his case this week for military strikes against Syria. His national security team is all over the talk show circuit and roaming Capitol Hill, trying to convince Congress to authorize action against the regime of Bashar al-Assad. And the president himself plans to address the American people on how and why we should intervene in a bloody civil war where Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood are fighting Iran, Hezbollah, and Assad. The president wants to conduct limited strikes. Key word there, limited. And I think there is a good chance he's going to do it whether Congress gives him the okay or not. Folks, this impending Syria strike is a disaster that has many layers, kind of like a rotten onion. Here's a few. Number one, and really the bottom line here at the end of the day, President Obama foolishly set a red line in August 2012. He said the use of chemical weapons by the Assad regime would be unacceptable and that the U.S. basically would not tolerate it. Take a look.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized.
Well, guess what? Chemical weapons were used in Syria a few weeks back. Now the images were horrific. Some 1,400 reportedly dead, including hundreds of children. Awful stuff. Evil stuff. The Assad regime was apparently behind this, although there are some very interesting arguments being made that Assad never gave the order directly, or perhaps that the rebels, our so-called friends, orchestrated the whole thing as a way to drag America into the conflict and oust Assad. Bottom line, though, chemical weapons were used. And because President Obama set that red line, he now has to save face. Even though America has no vital strategic interest in Syria right now, he has to do something because of that pesky red line. So, what he is proposing is a limited strike against Assad. President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry are tripping over themselves to assure the American people and Bashar al-Assad that it will be a short strike that won't cause a bunch of damage and will leave Assad in power. No American boots on the ground. It'll just be a shot across the bow, as the president recently said. Over before you know it. In and out. A few cruise missiles fired at Syrian military installations, just to say we did something. And of course, uphold President Obama's red line, which he now says that he never set.
I didn't set a red line. The world set a red line.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a lie, and a shameless one. You saw the tape. He clearly set a red line 1 year ago. And you wonder why polls show that some 70% of the American people oppose a strike on Syria, and why Congress will very likely not authorize military force. Who wants to follow a commander-in-chief who doesn't tell the truth, doesn't lay out any vital strategic interest, and telegraphs our attack plans weeks ahead? Which gives Assad, by the way, plenty of time to reposition his assets and plan a response. Now, the Obama administration and John McCain and Lindsey Graham, the GOP's dynamic foreign policy duo, say that even a limited strike against Assad would clear a path for the rebels. Here's the problem with that. Many of the so-called rebel factions are jihadists who are linked to Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. Even the New York Times back in April said, quote, "Nowhere in rebel-controlled Syria is there a secular fighting force to speak of. Nowhere." Again, that was the New York Times, an Obama mouthpiece. The Times also recently published video of a rebel leader executing Syrian soldiers. And Al-Qaeda-linked rebels also recently seized an historic Christian town near Damascus. Is it any wonder why there have been reports that the rebels are attacking churches and Christian leaders as well in Syria? Ladies and gentlemen, Bashar al-Assad is an evil man. But do we want to actively help Islamic jihadists who are every bit as evil and who hate the United States and everything we stand for? Pick your poison. The president says an attack against Syria would send a message to Iran. Really? Our weakness and indecisiveness over Iran's nuclear weapons program and over Syria has already sent the Iranians all the messages they need. You want to send a message to Iran? Hit the head of the snake. Take out Iran's nuclear weapons program and hit the Iranian regime, the puppet master behind Assad and Hezbollah, where it hurts. Newsflash, Mr. President. There is no way you can secure Syria's chemical weapons stockpiles or prevent that country from descending into even further chaos without American boots on the ground. In Iraq, we did have boots on the ground, and we still had chaos. Any vacuum in Syria will be filled by Al-Qaeda, the Brotherhood, Iran, and Hezbollah. Bank on it. Once Assad is gone, Syria will become a magnet for Al-Qaeda. It already is. Jihadists from around the world are and will descend on Syria. And those jihadists will go on the march against any remaining secular Syrian forces, just like they did in Afghanistan after the Soviets left, just like they did in Iraq, just like they're doing in Libya now, and yes, in Egypt. Folks, that is the great lesson out of the Middle East over the past 2 decades. If a vacuum is created, it will be filled by jihadists of either the Sunni or Shia variety. That's exactly what will happen in Syria. The jihadists are organized, ruthless, and have a clear goal. Sharia law for one and all, whether you like it or not. Those are 3 qualities that can take you a long way in the Middle East. Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Egypt, and now Syria will follow the same script. And it may spiral out of control in ways that the Obama administration has not even considered. Suppose Bashar al-Assad's back is against the wall and he decides to go out in a blaze of glory and fire some of those chemical weapons at Tel Aviv, or pass them off to Hezbollah to use against Israel. Suppose Iran orchestrates terror attacks against American and Israeli targets worldwide. We're looking at a wider regional war that would have serious consequences for the United States. Look, our credibility and leverage are gone in the Middle East, and they're not coming back at least until this president is out of office. Russia and China are licking their chops. But hey, at least President Obama may get to save face in Syria. Coming up, an Arab Christian tells us about his mission to take the gospel to the Muslim world. Stay tuned.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans. with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right. You could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
And welcome back. Well, Issa Bajalia is an Arab-American missionary who has dedicated his life to spreading the gospel in the Middle East and fighting Christian persecution in that region. I recently sat down with him to talk about his work in the Muslim world. It's a fascinating story. Take a look. Well, Issa Bajalia, welcome to Stakelbeck on Terror.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here, my friend.
Honored to be here.
Oh, honored to have you. You know, you're on the front lines. You're on the front lines in many ways in the war against Islamic radicalism in the Middle East, yes, but in a unique way, not with guns and bombs. You're preaching the gospel Amen. In the Muslim world. Tell us a bit about what you're doing there.
Well, I'm a firm believer that the only way to transition the Islamic value system is to introduce the mercy and the grace and the love of Jesus.
You have a unique challenge as well. Of course, it's a security risk, but you're also legally blind.
Yes, sir.
So you're legally blind.
Yes.
You're an American native. Your family moved here in 1952 from the Palestinian territories.
Right.
So you have a set of unique challenges when you go into the Middle East. Tell us how you handle that.
I just know that God takes care of where He sends us and who He sends us to. I found that there's been the goodness of God wherever I've gone, whether it's been in Egypt or Tunisia or anywhere in the Middle East, in these challenging countries. It's just been, all I can tell you is that it's just been the mercy of God.
What's the response you get when you preach the gospel in these gritty, many times radical areas? What's the kind of response you get?
The response has been overwhelming in the hunger. People are hungry and thirsty for truth. And even in the Islamic world, Muslims who are on the ground, common everyday Muslims, are seeing that in many ways they've been duped. There are thousands of Muslims that are giving their lives to Jesus every day, not just in the Middle East, I mean in other parts of Central Asia, in Iran, in the Middle Eastern countries, and among the Arab community who I'm in contact with especially. There are thousands of Muslims who are converting and bowing their knees to Jesus Christ.
About how Christians are being persecuted in the Middle East now.
Yes.
In some of the places that you visit.
Yes. I worked and lived for several months in Egypt. The last year, Egypt, there was 110,000 Coptics who left Egypt and immigrated to the West. This is after the Arab Spring, of course.
Right.
And then, of course, we know this too, 60% of the Christians who were in Iraq have left Iraq as well. And I think that's part of the mandate of Islam, is that Christians would leave and that it would become more of a Islamic state.
Yeah. So what do you do, Issa, when you're preaching to Muslims in the Middle East? What do you say? What's your strategy? How do you get the gospel across to them? Because Islam is a very tough nut to crack. How do you witness to them and bring them to the Lord?
I believe in befriending Muslims, and I believe in sharing my faith openly. And I found out that Muslims have more respect for you as a Christian if you're not ashamed of your Christianity. Plus the fact that God, there's a sovereign move of God across the world, I believe, and especially in my situation across the Middle East, where there is a growing hunger and a thirst for righteousness. Yeah. And that's even in the Muslim community, where I believe that Christ went to the cross even for them.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, there is evil and wickedness afoot in the world, but the Lord is also moving, as you said, Issa. Yes. About 20 seconds till the commercial. Tell us real quick, you've had threats against your life.
Yes.
Tell us about that just a bit and how you handle it.
The threats started in 07 and 08 in Ramallah, and I was, to be honest, afraid. But there's a verse out of Acts chapter 14 where Paul was in Iconium and Lystra and in Derbe in Acts chapter 14. In the first 3 verses, he said that that the Jews had turned the hearts of the Gentiles against us. So what he was saying generally is they're against us, and then the Bible says that they abode there for a long time. So what he said was, they don't want us here, so let's just stay for a long time.
Yeah. Isa, you're doing such important work, and the Lord's hand is clearly on it, my friend. How can our viewers support your ministry?
Just if you want to contact me, you can contact me by email at isa24j@gmail.com. That's isa24j@gmail.com.
Amen. And I know everyone's going to be praying for you as well, praying for the Lord's hedge of protection upon you. Real quick, Isa, we only have about 40 seconds left. Give us a word of encouragement about the things you're seeing in the Middle East. It seems like such a bleak situation there for the average person at home. Give us some encouragement about the good things you're seeing on the ground there.
I know politically and in the media it's not a hopeful situation, but I just want you to know that God has a sovereign plan for the Middle East. There's going to be a great harvest coming out of the Muslim world. And as a word of encouragement also to the viewers, there are many, many Arabs from the Arab world and from Africa who are living in our own communities in the U.S. Don't be ashamed of sharing the gospel with them.
Amen. Words of wisdom and inspiring. Isa Bajalia, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Coming up, Israel recently released over 100 hardened Islamic terrorists. What gives? Our friend Sarah Stern of the Endowment for Middle East Truth is here to make sense of it all. Don't move.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill, and in this hand is a $20 US gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
Welcome back. You know, Israel recently caused a major stir when it released over 100 hardened Palestinian Islamic terrorists with Israeli blood on their hands. So why did Israel do it? Well, we recently spoke to our good friend Sarah Stern of the Endowment for Middle East Truth to try to make sense of it all. Here's my interview with Sarah. Sarah, always great to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's great to be back.
Yeah, and what a topic to talk to you about, Sarah. 104 hardened terrorists.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Why would Israel release them? For everyone who hasn't really heard much about this story yet, why did Israel do this? What's the reasoning the government's giving, at least?
Well, I wish I were a fly on the wall, and I was privy to the conversations between Secretary of State John Kerry and Prime Minister Netanyahu. The Palestinian Authority has been absolutely so strict about their preconditions in order to sit down and speak with the Israelis about whether or not even to go on with the negotiations, that they had to come up with some incredible inducement. But I'd like you to know that most Israelis are adamantly against this, and this would be
on the left and the right.
On the left and the right, and this would be the equivalent to releasing 104 Joker Sarnievs, the Boston Marathon bomber.
Yeah, these guys, as you said, it really is, Sarah. This is releasing dozens of Boston bomber types back onto the streets. These guys are hardened terrorists, and it seems like what you're saying is, and what the Israeli government is saying, is they are releasing these individuals, these hardened terrorists, in order to get the Palestinians to the negotiating table. It's not even a prisoner swap. Right. Israel's getting nothing in return. Right. It's not like they're getting captured Israeli soldiers like a Gilad Shalit.
Right.
All they're getting is the Palestinian pledge to come to the negotiating table. To me, that's astounding.
Exactly, and they are still threatening to break off negotiations. After 26 of these horrible murders were released, among them was Mustafa al-Hajj, who murdered an American citizen, Stephen Frederick Rosenfeld.
Wow, so they have American blood on their hands.
That's right, and Stephen Rosenfeld was a U.S. Marine, a former Marine, and he was taking a walk in 1981 in the Judean Hills near his home in Ariel, and 3 Palestinians approached him, engaged him in conversation. He took their pictures, so that's how they actually...
They befriended him.
They befriended him, and they ended up stealing a pocket knife from his backpack and murdering him with his very own pocket knife.
And this was an American citizen, an American hero, a U.S. Marine, and his murderer is now back on the streets because Mahmoud Abbas pledged to come to the negotiating table. And Sarah, as you said, that train has left the station. Now 26 of them are on the streets already. And Abbas could say, you know what, I've changed my mind, Israel. I'm going to back out. I'm not going to negotiate after all. It's astounding. And I want to come back to that U.S. pressure. John Kerry paid a visit to Israel. Then Netanyahu announces this prisoner release. You know, you move inside Washington, D.C., Sarah. You're very well connected here in Washington, D.C. How great is the Obama administration pressure on Israel right now?
It is absolutely horrific. And what is so astounding to me is that as the Middle East is imploding all over the place, I mean, we just heard reports of 1,100 to 1,300 Syrian civilians that were killed, 100,000, over 100,000 Syrians that have been killed in this Muslim-on-Muslim internecine civil war. In Egypt, there are upwards of 1,000 people that have been killed. And what has been going on with the Egyptian Coptic community is terrible. Why are we wasting our good credibility on trying to broker some sort of an inane deal to make Israel go back to indefensible borders when the rest of the world is so unstable in that region?
Yeah, and when Israel's borders are literally on fire.
That's right. That's right. If anything, at this time, a friend would be bolstering up Israel right now. And this really flies in the face of decades and decades of historic friendship between the United States and Israel.
Yeah, Israel is the lone democratic presence in a chaotic, totalitarian region.
Right.
And to not have Israel's back in its time of greatest need, to me, is a sad day as an American.
It's tragic. Plus, what has happened here in terms of the release of prisoners and our country's inability to actually demand justice to those terrorists that have murdered American citizens is equally tragic. I've been working on this issue for a very, very long time. And I think that American credibility again is weakened when we're giving a free pass to these terrorists.
Yeah. What do you think going forward with Prime Minister Netanyahu? I mean, he was one of the original terror warriors. He really was, Sarah. I mean, he wrote books in years past about standing strong against terrorism, never giving in to terrorists. Are you a bit surprised by this prisoner release, or is the pressure just that great from the U.S.?
From what I can see, the pressure must be absolutely enormous. And I know that John Kerry had said to Prime Minister Netanyahu that if Israel does not sit down and negotiate with the Palestinians, they are going to find themselves in a position of international isolation on steroids.
Well, I think that about says it all, Sarah. So thank you so much for the work you're doing at the Endowment for Middle East Truth. It is emmetonline.org. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Always great having you.
Always
Coming up, much more. Stay tuned.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
And welcome back. Well, this is the final episode of the Stakelbeck on Terror show. But don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Starting next week, during this same time slot and on this same channel, get ready for The Watchmen with Eric Stakelbeck. It's the close of one chapter, the beginning of another. You'll see all of the same kind of hard-hitting coverage about the Middle East, about the radical Islamic threat, about the hardcore leftist threat, all of the existential, pressing threats against America, Israel, and the West you will see on The Watchmen. And the title is no coincidence. On your walls, O Jerusalem, I have set watchmen day and night who will never hold their peace. So until next week and the inaugural episode of The Watchmen with Eric Stakelbeck, I thank you for watching Stakelbeck on Terror these past 3.5 years. I encourage you to keep tuning in to The Watchmen. And again, until next time, never hold your peace. God bless.